TCI is brought to you by TaylorMade Stallions, home of astrology, Escandaria, forestry, Northern Afleet, old-fashioned, and unbridled song.
Welcome back to TCI, your inside track to the Breeders' Cup. Alongside Joel Cunningham, I'm John Siegel. Joel, we had 3 horses back in action in the Classic division over the weekend. We had Fort Larned, we had Paynter, and we also had Mucho Macho Man. I want you to tell me, who do you think was the most impressive on the weekend?
Well, that's 3 big names, John. I mean, Mucho Macho Man's a horse that I really thought was your winner last year. If Game Undue breaks well and goes with Fort Larned early and doesn't let Fort Larned take advantage of that speed bias track at Santa Anita, I think Mucho Macho Man probably ran the best that day. It's unfortunate he's not a Grade 1 winner, but his comeback race was disappointing, so he would not be the horse that I would fit into the category of being a contender this year. He wouldn't answer the question that you just asked me. Painter's that horse for me, John. For him to do what he did, you know, coming back off a year layoff, sprinting against a Grade 1 horse like Majestic City, and I know Majestic City's not quite as good anymore, but the way he kicked clear here after going fast early, and that track was not fast, and the final time, the Briss rating, 105, and this is 7 furlongs off a layoff, John. So powerful. Galloped out strong, came back healthy and happy. To me, here's a horse with the talent level. Once he gets back around 2 turns, Paynter, to me, is the horse I'm most excited about. Fort Larned is going to be, you know, a very popular opinion based on the way he ran the Foster. It's good to see him back, but to me, that track was very typey at Churchill Downs. He got out on a very comfortable pace, uncontested, and that track probably carried him around there pretty comfortably.
I mean, you're talking about the horse. He won the Breeders' Cup Classic last year, and Joel, he looks poised after this performance. He looks like he could be the first horse since Tisnow to win back-to-back, and you still think Paynter was the more impressive on the weekend.
Straight and strong, and it's great to have Fort Larned back. I mean, he had a terrible winter. Fell off, you know, jockey fell off his back at Gulfstream. What he set probably a world record there, with no weight on his back. Came back at Oakland and just looked awful, John. I mean, just never looked healthy and happy and comfortable at all. I mean, I thought it was a pitiful performance at Oakland Park. I wondered whether or not we'd see an A-plus performance back from Fort Larned. So, you know, Ian Wilkes has done a great job getting him back on his home track there at Churchill for the Foster, and he ran awesome. But, John, that track, the way it was playing Saturday night, I mean, look at Funny Proposition in the Fleur-de-Lis, and Royal Delta might not have run her race, and I know there wasn't a lot behind Royal Delta in that field, but for Funny Proposition to go 46 and change in a 1.8 race and still open up, open lengths on the field, turning for home, I just think that track was very typey. It was playing to speed, playing to the, may have had even a little bit of an inside bias in there. If you're out in a 3 or 4 path, I don't think you ran as well that day. So I'm willing to say Fort Larned, the track probably helped his performance. I know he got a 114 Briss number. Great to see him back. But to me, I don't now just say, well, he's definitely the top horse in the handicap division. I think it's a very competitive division. It has a lot of talent.
Well, you mentioned that Ladies Classic division with Royal Delta. Obviously, she left the door wide open for who is now on top of that. Even though she is a 2-time Ladies Classic winner, I think that it's wide open for a horse like Dreaming of Julia, who's running this weekend in the Mother Goose. I mean, I think she really could jump to the top of that division. What do you think?
Yeah, we might have seen a Dubai bounce from obviously your 2-time Ladies Classic winner coming into this race, Royal Delta. I mean, she just looked sluggish again. And the fact that she was wide and Funny Proposition got away from her, she just never looked comfortable at any time. She obviously did not fire her race, so it'll be interesting to see if we get her back. You know, talking about Dreaming of Julia, John, here's a filly that ran so well at Gulfstream, got those big speed figures, came back, probably bounced in the Oaks. I mean, she's not a big filly, didn't run well that day, but now getting back on her home track, a track like Belmont that we know she's a greatest stakes winner at, plenty of rest in between. I'm anxious to see if Dreamin' of Julia can prove to be that 3-year-old to take on a horse like Royal Delta at the end of the year in the Ladies Classic. And quite frankly, that whole division on the East Coast to older mares is pretty good.
Yeah.
And it's competitive. I mean, On Fire Baby, you look at Tis Miss Sue, you look at Authenticate, how well Authenticate ran last time out. I think it's a great division. Not a lot of strength in the West Coast in that division, but I think Dreaming of Julia is that 3-year-old filly that if she can bounce back to that top form she had this winter at Gulfstream, she can be a player in that Ladies Classic division, especially as bad as Royal Delta ran.
All right, let's talk Dirt Mile before I let you go, because we had, you know, that race with the 3-year-olds in it where in the Pegasus we saw It's My Lucky Day and VERRAZANO, a matchup we were really looking forward to. Unfortunately, It's My Lucky Day was injured in that race. Mike Smith did a great job of taking care of the horse, but Joel, it left the race wide open for VERRAZANO. I mean, he wins by 10 in here, but I think you have to say, I mean, what did he beat with It's My Lucky Day out of the race?
But you mentioned the unfortunate sideline of the pelvic injury, but it's my lucky day. This was a race set up at middle distance, a mile and 16th, that we both knew that these miler-type horses loved. And you started to see It's My Lucky Day inch up down the backstretch. You thought you were going to see a great race. Once he pulled up, VERRAZANO it basically left this race all to VERRAZANO. So you can't be surprised by VERRAZANO's performance. However, the fact that he did it with so much left, and the fact he got a 100 brisk for what was basically a public workout, I think now going forward, VERRAZANO is probably going to be your betting favorite in the Haskell. I'm not saying I like him to win that race, but I think he's probably going to be your betting favorite. And we know he likes a mile and an eighth because he's already won the Wood Memorial at that distance. So VERRAZANO set up for a big second half of the year. For me, and I've said this many times, he's not a classic contender at a mile and a quarter against the best horse in the world. But I do think he could be a dirt mile contender and a good one. Probably a top 3 dirt mile contender right now as it stands.
But Joel, if he goes on and wins the Classic, wins the Haskell, you know the Classic is going to be calling for those connections. You know that it's going to be very tempting to run in there.
Absolutely. That's where the stallion making race is. That's the big money purse race. But let's face it, after the Haskell, he's going to have to win a race like the Travers at a mile and a quarter, Jockey Club Gold Cup at a mile and a quarter. So he'll have plenty of opportunities there to run against horses like Paynter, Fort Larned, to where connections might get a little more realistic. But we'll see. A long summer to go.
Man, we called it last weekend. We said this could be an exciting year with a lot of great storylines that really set up this weekend.
Everybody needs to stay healthy.
All right, thank you, Joel. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure you come back next week. We'll recap the Mother Goose and we'll talk more about this year's Breeders' Cup.